Good day. Welcome to Client Server Technology. My name is Brent Nori, and today's tutorial we are going to look at setting up a file server using FileZilla. So if we can just go to Google, and we're going to bring up our website, which is filezilla-project.org, and we're going to download the FileZilla server. Um, I already took the liberty of downloading this executable file, which I have on my taskbar. So if we can just go, I'm going to just open this up. Great. Of course, I'm going to agree to the license agreement, and simple process is next. Of course, where the file will be stored next, and we're going to keep the admin interface server port as 14147. Next, install. This will take a few seconds. Install. Good, so it's completed. Click and close, and there we have it. We have installed our server. Of course, there are a couple of things we have to do to the server to make it work. So just bear with me a second. Right, so our server is up, and of course, if we click connect, I'm doubtful we're going to get a connection. Right, great. So as you can see, the error message says you appear to have a NAT router. Please configure the passive mode settings and forward a range of ports in your router. And of course, another warning, FTP over TLS is not enabled. Users cannot securely log in. So we're going to deal with all of those things as we go on. But let's first configure the server. So if we go to edit, settings, right, and the first thing we're going to configure is on the general settings. Usually the port for FTP is 21, but I think it's safe. Let's just use 800 to be safe, so that we don't have any issues. So let's go to passive mode settings, and we're gonna use a custom port range. I'm going to use 551000, 55,000 to 56,000. Right. And I'm going to change the default setting for the external server IP address. I'm going to retrieve the external IP address from filezilla-project.org. Um, great, so we have changed that. What else do we have to change? Let's go to resolving the issue with FTP over TLS. So let's go to FTP over TLS. So we're going to enable the FTP over TLS support, and we're going to generate a new certificate for the purpose of encrypting our data. So let's go to generate certificate, and it's asking for some information. So our 2-digit country code, in our case it's TT, as in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm going to put in an area, for state or province, just put Fyzabad, San Fernando City, none. I'm going to put in my contact email address, server, command name, file here. And where am I going to store this? Let's browse. I'm going to store it in my document. This is going to replace what I currently have, the generate certificate. Certificate generated successfully. Great. All right. So in terms of the other parts of this, we're going to not change anything. We're going to leave the default port as 990 for our encrypted data in terms of listening for a listening port. Great, so that's all set. So let's click OK. So we're going to go back into edit again, and we're going to click on users, We're going to establish user account. I already have one established called test. The password I would have put for that would have been password 4. So we're going to use that, or I can create another user just for the sake of clarity. Let's create another user and let's call this test2. I'm going to give test2 a password, so I'll use pass capital P A S S W R D. Let's give it password 7. Right. So password is capital P, password 7. Great. So that should be that. Let's go to share folders. We're going to establish which folders or directory we're going to actually share with this particular user, test2. So if I go to add, and in this case, I'm going to share a folder, school folder, documents. I'm going to share this folder, statistics, fundamental. Okay. And I'm going to give it privileges to write, read, append, and directory create, delete. Excellent. And click OK, and that should take care of setting up our user account and all aspects of the server that needs to be tweaked. So the next thing we're going to do is to, of course, look at our router because I have a NAT. Well, I use NAT on my router. I use a TSTT router. So there's some issues that need to be resolved on the router side to ensure that the server is able to communicate and transfer data successfully. So if we can, I'm just going to go to, I'm already logged into my router. It's TSD Blink Broadband. A number of things we have to change here, or to configure, I should say. So to do that, I'm just going to go to LAN, right? And of course, with the server, we need to establish that the IP address should be static and not be changing as dynamically. So to do that, we need to establish a static IP address. We need both the MAC address and the IP address. So if we go back to I go to device info, GCP, and I can see for my machine here, my MAC address is this. So I'm just going to copy this MAC address. I'm going to go back to advanced settings, setup. I'm going to go to LAN. I'm going to add an entry and paste my MAC address here. I also need my IP address for the server. So I'm just going to go to my command prompt, ipconfig. Alright, there we go, and my IP address is 192.168.1.4. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste that here to create my address. There we go. So now we have a static IP address that we created. So the next thing I'm going to do is to go to my NAT and create some virtual servers that will allow me to for the port listen ports as well as for data transfer ports. So we need to establish 3 things. One is the 800 port, which will be our listen port for unencrypted data, 990 for those ports that are encrypted, and of course we're going to have a range of ports that's going to be used for retrieving data. So I'm going to use the default that they have here for FTP server, and of course the IP address is 192.168.1.4. I'm going to change the default 21, which is normally the FTP port. I'm going to put this 800, that's what I configured and on my server. Right. So there we go. I'm going to apply this, save. Great. I'm going to add a second port. Let's custom this port. So this is my encrypted listening same IP address, 4, I'm going to put 990, 990, I'm going to save this, and one more, custom data ports, same IP address, I'm going to put 55,000 and 56,000. Great, and apply, and right, so that should take care of my ports in terms of the communicating with my server. So that's finished. So I'm going to do one more thing. We have to look at our firewall to ensure that the firewall doesn't prevent the data transfer or cause any conflict. So if we just go to bring up my Windows firewall, I'm going to go to advanced setting. Seconds. Right, and what I need to do is to establish my inbound rules to ensure that there isn't any conflict. Click on new rules. We're going to see what type of rule would you like to create. I'm going to use program rule that controls connection for a program. All right, so we need to find the program, this program path. So it's going to FileZilla server, open, and next. Allow connections includes connections that are protected with IPsec as well as those that are not. Next. This remains the same, all three. I'm going to give it a name, FileZilla. And this should give FileZilla all permissions to allow ports. So we're finished. And that should be right. So that's it there. So if we go back to our server, we just want to verify things that we would have done. So we would have configured our server, we configured the router, and we also configured our firewall. This being said, we are supposed to be able to now access that file. So that folder directory. So if we go to open up a new FTP. Oh, so yeah, good. So we need to ensure, sorry, that we can access this at the local network. So the IP address of the local server will be 192.168.1.4, and the port is 800. Great, it asks for a login, which is what we're looking for. So we would have used test2 as the username, and the password, I believe, was capital PASSWRD. Was it 7? Yes, 7. Great. So we're in. We now have access to that particular file within the directory selected. So that's one way. Or there's a second way we can do this. If per chance you have the FileZilla client software on your machine, then it allows you to do this easier. Oh, sorry. If we want to access the file externally, because what we just did was access the file on our local network. So we would have established, if we go to whatismyip.com, right, this would be the IP address of my, well, public IP address of my server. So if I copy this, and again, we go to FTP:// // and paste the IP address and the port. I'm supposed to be, there we go. So we can log in test2 and the password. There we go. So we have established two things. We can log into our server internally using our internal IP address, and we can also log into our server using well, externally, sorry, right, using the public IP address and the port. So that's one way of accessing it externally. An easier way, as I said before, if by chance you have the client FileZilla software installed on your machine, then we, in my case, I have it installed, so I can go FileZilla client. There we go, bring it up. There we go. So what it asks for, so this is the FileZilla client side. So we have the hostname, username, password, and the port. So the hostname will be, of course, the public IP address of the server, the username test2, and the password is PASSWRD7, and the port 800, and click connect. Brilliant. It's asking for a certificate, which is good news. Click OK, and there it is, successful. We have had a successful login, and there is the file here. So there we go. That has been our tutorial today, how to actually set up a file server. And we would have looked at two things. One, if we are accessing it over our local network and using our local IP address for the machine, and if we're using it to over well, from a different area, different city, different location, then we use our public IP address and port number to access it. And of course, we could use the client side as well to get connection. I hope this tutorial was beneficial, and thanks for watching. Bye.